Hi, I'm Cindy. Welcome back. I'm here to give you hope by sharing with you what I discovered on my journey of overcoming chronic fatigue. In this particular video, I'm going to share with you a treatment that I did that actually made me worse, but I learned from it, and I want to share with you what I learned from it as it applies to DISH. And if you're not familiar with DISH, that's what this whole channel is about. DISH stands for Defensive Individual Shield Hypothesis. It's something that I discovered on my journey of overcoming chronic fatigue, and I think it's the missing piece of why we struggle with this illness. I'm going to break this down into three sections. One is what it was like before I understood DISH. Second thing, it will be about what was happening while I was discovering DISH. And then the third thing would be a treatment that was prescribed to me that I declined because I knew about DISH. But I only declined it until we looked deeper with DISH factored in. When we looked deeper with DISH factored in, I was actually able to do the treatment. As far as before I knew about DISH, I don't know about you, but many years go by, many brushing off of symptoms go by before we finally get an official diagnosis. Well, my official diagnosis about chronic fatigue happened in 2000. And so, okay, great. I have a name now. Thank you very much. Chronic fatigue. But at the time, they said there's no treatment, no cure. Just toughen up and figure out a way to push through it because we don't know what to do about it. Not encouraging, right? But you have to live, you have to move on, and you have to keep going, even though it's difficult. And so that's what I did. Well, then time goes by, and now it's 2009. Still same problem, still pushing through. Finally had a test done, found out that my pituitary gland was not making human growth hormone. And so oh good, we now know what the problem is. If that's the problem, let's fix the problem and everything will be better, right? No. With that diagnosis, they told me that I had a life expectancy of 38 to 42, and I was barreling down on my 41st birthday. So that was not very encouraging either. And so, but the interesting thing about this though, is when you don't know what you can do, you end up, it's like you're given one option, because at that point, when I got that diagnosis, I was already doing the healthy living lifestyle. I was already exercising, even though I was so exhausted. I was going to the chiropractor twice a week, and I was seeing an acupuncturist. And doing gluten-free, casein-free, egg-free, soy-free, corn-free, you name it. I was doing all of that, and I was still not making any progress. In fact, when I started taking the injections that they prescribed 4 times a week, my health plummeted even more. And so that got me thinking though, and it's like, okay, if that was the problem and we are taking stuff to fix the problem, why is it making it worse? And so that was in the back of my mind as my health journey continued. So now when my health was declining significantly and I was out of ideas, my naturopath told me to consider homeopathy. And for me, homeopathy, I thought, was just like, hey, there. Yes, you're imagining all this stuff. And so I was kind of offended at first. But when I went to my first appointment, because I was going to try it, because I didn't know what else I could do. And I remember my husband having to drive me to the appointment. And I remember it being winter time. And I remember not wanting to put my boots on because it was hard enough to walk as it was. But Montana winter, you need boots and you need a coat. And I didn't know if I was going to make it to the car. But I went to the appointment and I started homeopathy. I stopped the free fall. The first month was really iffy, I guess you could say. But then I very slowly started getting better. And about 9 months in, she's like, oh, you're fixed. And I remember getting mad and saying, no, I'm not fixed. I said, the only reason I'm doing okay right now is because I have to avoid so many things. I have to not wear polyester. I have to do this and I have to not to do that. And I'm still not eating any gluten or wheat or soy or corn or cooked food, or if I can't, and I couldn't even eat healthy food. Like if I ate broccoli, I couldn't eat cauliflower at the same time or I'd get slurred speech. And so it was very, very frustrating. I know that there's someone out there that can relate to that. And I just want you to know that I hear you and you're the reason I'm doing this. I'm getting out of my comfort zone and sharing this information. And so that's where I was at. And so knowing about that, when I get to after that 9 month, it's like, well, I can't stay like this. I have all these plates I'm constantly spinning. And if I stop spinning one of them, I crash, and I crash hard. And we know what that is. We know what that feels like when we hit bottom. And sometimes it takes a while to get back up again. And the more frequently we hit bottom, the harder it is to want to get back up again. And it's just so important to always get up again. So even though she couldn't help me anymore, I knew I couldn't stop there. But I still continued with avoiding all that stuff, but I was still looking for answers because I knew I couldn't hold that position that long. Because it's like, have you ever tried, okay, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the raw diet. And yeah, I did 80% raw, but you know how hard it is to do the raw diet when you're allergic to sunflower seeds, avocados, and bananas? I mean, that's almost the whole diet. And so it's like, I can't do this. I need to find what's going on. And I knew that I couldn't stop there. In the process of her not being able to help me, I still kept looking for answers. And I started taking all kinds of notes and trying to figure out, okay, why did this work? And a little bit later, it didn't work. And it worked and it didn't work. And just continually took notes for 5 years until I'd had my aha moment and figured out what was going on. And then I studied it for another 5 years, figuring out what was going on. But so while I was trying to figure it out on my own, I started to notice, because some of the homeopathy principles, like wave canceling, I understood that. I got that because I was the math major. And I knew that like waves, if they're exact, did cancel each other. But and so some of the homeopathy principles that my homeopath was telling me about is that normally you only need to take a remedy once. Well, she saw that I need, because she had this machine, but she saw that I was needing to take it continually. Or I need to take more than one, and you should only be taking one. And so it's like, I wasn't following her rule book either. I didn't follow the rule book for the modern medicine way, and I wasn't following the rule book for her way either. But it's not because I didn't want to, it's something was wrong. And so I kept looking. And I started to notice that just by holding the remedies, sometimes that worked better than taking the remedies. Well, that was kind of strange, right? And so that's in the back of my mind now too. And so have both of those in the back of my mind. And time goes by, with my aha moment, and I figure this all out. But that being said, what I realized is that we all have a dish. If our dish is working, we're not even aware of it. It's automatic, no problems, no autoimmune disease. When our dish isn't working, we have autoimmune disease. But, big but, it doesn't matter if the dish is automatic or manual. And so I started learning how to make my dish manually. And when I made my dish manually, I made progress in my health. When I didn't make my dish manually, I couldn't do any of the other methods. Make the dish, can do the methods. Don't make the dish, can't do the methods. That simple. When I had my aha moment, and then now I'm still, 10 years later, still applying this dish principle and all the stuff I've learned about it. I'm still making a manual dish, and I'm still symptom-free. If I stop making a manual dish, I'm not symptom-free. And so it's that big. And so with that in mind, now that I understood that, when I went to my doctor appointment and he told me, oh, your thyroid is not working properly. You need to take these supplements and it'll boost your thyroid. Sirens went off in my head and I said, no, we're not going to do that. Sorry. And we kind of had a little bit of an argument, but I had been seeing him for over a year. And so I've been trying to explain to him DISH every single time I go in because it's something I had to factor in for my health in order to be able to do whatever he suggested. And so in this particular situation, he sat down, crossed his legs, crossed his arms, and says, okay, now explain this one more time. And so I explained to him in the very beginning with the pituitary gland, when my pituitary gland wasn't working and we forced it to work, it made everything worse. And so that, over time, I realized was my body powering down to protect me. And so by forcing it to power up, I was making it worse. And so I asked him to consider that as a possibility, that that's not the real problem. My body is just having a problem there because it needs to power down to protect me. Well, we continued looking, figuring out, and then we figured out a different supplement, and boom, that supplement fixed everything, and it wasn't the thyroid anymore while I was in his office. Yes, he was surprised. And so, but he was very open-minded too, and that was very awesome. So keep in mind that what I learned was that if my DISH was working, whether it's automatic or manual, I was able to do what was recommended. If it was not working, I was not able to do it. So in summary, what I think is people without an autoimmune disease have a working DISH that they're not even aware of because they don't have to do anything or think about it. It's like doing math on a calculator. Whereas if the person that does not have an automatic working DISH, it's malfunctioning or for whatever reason, it's like doing the same math problem, but you need to use pen and paper. And it takes more time, but you still get the same answer and you're still able to do the math problem. And so that's why I think DISH is so